Jeff.
All right, we're going to go and bring the meeting to order. Share this real quick, and we will get started. All right. So first, I'd like to welcome all 5 or 6 people that actually showed up. Hopefully, we'll have more in the future. We'll go from there. So the meeting started. We are recording this right now. We're going to go through the slides, answer some of the questions we've already had submitted, and then we'll stop the recording and probably readjust the time just because we are limited to 40 minutes based on the limitations of our program right now. Things we'll go through normally, meeting minutes, where we just discuss what was covered in the previous meeting and what we're planning on covering in this meeting. Correspondence between us and the union. Presence report, that's what I'll talk about some of the initiatives we've had during the week, or during the month rather. Secretary Treasurer's report, which is going to be about membership and about current finances. Committee reports, once we get those established. Any new business that needs to be voted upon, any old business that hasn't been completed yet. General topics that we want to discuss, open it up for questions and answers. Then adjourn and then have the next meeting. So I'd like a quick roll call. Ryan Lanning.
Present.
All right. Scott Clancy.
Here.
Jake Milligan. Shame. Scott Schoenhart from CareFlight. John Seavey.
Kanpai.
Fantastic. Welcome. All right. So just a quick information for everybody who doesn't know who everybody is. That's Gordon Harwell. That's me. Ryan Lanning, your Secretary Treasurer. Scott Clancy, one of our stewards. Jake Milligan, our absent steward. Lucas Winslow, who is present. John Seavey, that is exactly how you will see him 99% of the time if you're not blinded by his belt buckle. Scott Schoenhart, who is the steward for CareFlight. I don't believe he is here either. Haven't seen him, talked on the phone once, but hope we get to work with those guys a lot more. On to the President's report. Currently, what we're trying to do is reestablish the union as a growing concern. We've got project management software utilizing Trello that myself, Ryan Lanning, and all the stewards have access to. And that's so we can go through and, again, manage those projects. Anything that comes up, we can keep track of it with time, how we're going to go about it, and it allows us to go through it. Online meeting software, obviously we're using Zoom right now. It seems to be working pretty well so far. There are some limitations with it, with the number of people we can have present. That's not a big issue today because it's up to 100, and I think we're well below 10. As we get bigger and get large in the future, we can expand that to quite a few more, up to 1,000, and then we can also have longer meetings. Open up a Twitter account as well as a YouTube account, just so we can, again, post these videos, any other videos we think might be good for members or representative pilots. The Twitter account is primarily just to get another way to get the information out there. And I know some people don't like Facebook. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook either, but it's hard to beat as far as being something that everybody does use for the most part. And it's not something you have to go to find out information on the union. You're already there. It makes sense. Twitter's kind of the same way. If you're an active Twitter user, then you're going to see those announcements as well. We are limited with Twitter because we can't have a closed group. That being said, will allow us to push people to the Facebook page and also the web page, which we do have if you didn't know about that. Stewards, we have stewards that have been who have been volunteered or who have volunteered themselves and their time, so we appreciate that. As we get larger, we'll add more people. Jeff Arnold, who's in the call, we're going to add him here pretty soon. Sean Sharp has also mentioned he would like to volunteer as well. Ideally, we'd like to have at least one per hitch per base, and then I'd like to have one per region at least on the aeromedical side. We got the bank accounts switched over with Greg Aubrey to Ryan Lanning and myself. and Pete Catalano, who is our office manager, takes care of all that stuff for us. We essentially got some signature stamps so he can sign all the checks up to OPEIU and to others. We've gotten in contact with different people at OPEIU. And that's Paul Boelski, who is the is our representative to the National Union, and also his boss, Sandy Pope. She's been we've contacted both of them. They've talked about some of the options, given them a status report on kind of where we're at as a union, and also what they can expect from us going forward, kind of what our plans are, and they've given us some idea, some of the support they can give us. Right now, it's still pretty tentative, but again, we're working on it. So we're also going to work on rebranding. The union has some different, some besides the old trucker caps that we've had in the past, that kind of your grandpa wears. We also get a new emblem, because I know the OPEIU that we currently have inspires a lot of visceral angst and rage, and it really just gets you motivated. So we decided to go ahead and get a new logo, something a little more specific to us. These are some of the things that have been suggested. Lucas Winslow and Jake Milligan have volunteered their time and come up with a few ideas. Obviously, this isn't what we're finalized on, but this is hopefully to give you guys an idea of what we're looking at, and we're willing to take any input you guys have. So keep it coming. Let's see, back here. I'll move on to the Secretary Treasurer's report. Went ahead and put this together really quickly. Membership is obviously going to be a big thing for us. We added one member this month, and that was one guy who just got hired on a care flight. He signed on. Give everybody an idea, we have 47 total members right now in the union. 12 are from aeromedical, 23 from oil and gas, and then 12 from care flight. PHI, or sorry, as a local, we have 570 representative pilots, which is a 349 from aeromedical, 193 from oil and gas, and 28 from care flight. Overall, we have an 8% membership rate. So not fantastic, but somewhere to start from. 3% for aeromedical, 12% for oil and gas, and then 42% for care flight. The next big goal we have, obviously, is 50% plus one. That allows us to go to the bargaining table and exit self-help. And that is on the PHI side. So as of July, that's 272 pilots based on the number of people we have. Again, that is an intermediate goal. My goal is 100%. I'd like everyone to join, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit on why. Care flight, for those of you who don't know, does exist as a separate bargaining unit within a local. They have a collective bargaining agreement that is separate from ours. All of their stuff is essentially internal. They were just kind of glommed onto us as a kind of an expedient for both OPEIU, the local. It helped us out to have some more people at that time. Still does, honestly. And we helped them out with some bargaining assistance and things like that. So my knowledge is that we haven't worked that much with them in the past on a regular basis, but hope to do that. Seems like they've got a pretty good group of guys over there, and they've been doing a pretty good job. On the financial report, current bank account is at $122,055.23. Last month, the income from dues was $3,680. Expenses were $1,750. And I'll talk more about the dues and how that all goes in, and then how much we spend and what we spend it on, in the question and answers, because that's one we obviously get quite a few of. Committee reports, we normally talk about, or in the future, we're going to talk about different actions and activities that are going on with the committees. Per Article 12, I believe, we're supposed to have a professional standards committee. We need to establish that with some of the input from the chief pilots, both Wade Cook and Greg Goldsmith. We'll see if CareFlight wants to be involved in that as well. Joint Safety Committee with 2 members from the union, 2 members from management. That's, I'm assuming, with Ryan Smith and somebody else. That's just, again, to have quick access to those guys and open up that communication so we can talk about those kind of things. Things that aren't required by the collective bargaining agreement, but things that I think we should have are some new committees. Something along the lines of operational review. So we can go through, have a group of guys that their kind of side effort is to go in and look at the GOM, go in and look at different funds, and go in and look at different things, so we can essentially help management do a better job of sending stuff out there, because typically they'll have maybe a manager, maybe the chief pilot or somebody just kind of put something together as one of 100 things he's doing that day or that week, and it gets sent out, and it might get a little bit of review, but very rarely do they come to the field and say, hey, take a look at this and see if this is good. So we're going to kind of give them more reactive than I would like. Ideally, I'd like to see in the future them come to us and say, hey, look, what do you guys think of this? Is this going to work? And have that kind of partnership, make it easy for everybody, kind of reduce the frustration. Compensation, obviously something we all care quite a bit about, as well as quality of life, and then another committee for membership. And again, this is not an extensive list of committees. This is a list of things that we can have to help everybody get an idea of some things that we can start adding to. As we get more people and find more issues, more specific things, we can add more committees. Obviously, we're always looking for volunteers to join those committees. At this point, I don't care if you're a member or not. If you want to join a committee, I think it's a good way to get someone involved who may not be a member, and then we can not lean on them, obviously, but hey, you can kind of see what we're doing. We'd appreciate your help. We'd appreciate you putting in the effort. Let's make that next step. So, again, open to non-members and members alike. Unfinished new business. This is where we're going to address, again, anything requiring a vote. For maybe something that was previously unclosed, stuff that is new this month that may require a vote. Right now, we don't have anything, so we'll move on. The general topics. Question we get a lot of the time is, where are we steering this ship? What's the plan to go forward? What do you want to do with the union? Honestly, I'm a big advocate of having large-scale, achievable goals. It doesn't mean they aren't difficult. But it does mean that they are big. I would like to see us have the same thing that airline pilots have. And I'm not talking regionals. I'm talking major and legacy. Your Southwest, your United, your American. Do I think we're going to have a time in the next 5 years when a S-92 pilot makes $320 grand a year? No, but we can certainly do way better than we are now. So the pay, the benefits, the quality of life, not living in crappy rundown trailers, but having decent, good places to live, sleep, get good rest, good internet, good food, good everything. It's good, if not better than what they have there. And a lot of people may say, hey, that's not going to happen, but it needs to be an aspirational goal. We're not going to get it by saying we can't get it. Also want to have a safe, professional, and respectful workplace where management, instead of treating us all like we're just complaining and the impression that we all just a bunch of whiny pilots who don't want to do any work, recognize that we are contributing massively to this company and we are essential to the continued success of this company. And how they treat us is reflected in how well we work, together. Is it going to be easy? Not at all. But we have to. It's not going to be just us. We can't say, hey, PHI, look at the great deal PHI got. Everybody else is going to try, and we're going to incrementally improve across the board, not just us, also Bristow, ERA, all those guys. It's always a competition in an arms race on who can keep people, who's paying the best, who's got the best benefits. So we have to keep that up, and we have to kickstart it, especially since everybody's in the process of exiting bankruptcy. Everybody's readjusting those things that can either benefit us or it can harm us a lot. And what we do is we're not going to be able to do it with the 3% we have right now. It's just not going to cut it. We can't do it with exiting self-help and just say, okay, now we want all this money. That's not going to do it either. We have to get to 100%, just like ALPA. ALPA needs to be the goal, the Airline Pilots Association, if you're not familiar. The reason you have huge pay and huge benefits and huge quality of life for a bunch of guys who honestly don't do a tenth of what we do on a daily basis is because they have a very strong union. Imagine, if you will, after spending 10 years or at the peak of your career in the Gulf of Mexico, making $250,000, making 14% of your 401k, having health benefits that cost you $200 for your whole family. And that quality, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about little bit of incremental quality of life not quality of life, but just small cost of living adjustments each year. We're talking about a paradigm shift in what we do, and having management recognize that we're not driving flying Greyhounds here. We're flying high quality, high paid employees for the biggest companies in the world. We're not flying grandma to go see the kids. And that's something that we're going to have to convince them of, and the industry of as well, because it's going to take going to Shell. It's going to take going to BP. It's going to take going to all those guys and making them understand that, because they're going to have to pay more, and so is PHI. But they can absolutely ignore us if we're at 3%. They can ignore us if we're at 50% or 50% plus 1. They can't ignore us if we're at 100%. They can't ignore Bristow. They can't ignore us. They can't ignore everyone. So that's where we have to go. The plan to get there is just, again, anybody that's talked to me for more than 5 minutes knows it's about constant, consistent, unrelenting pressure on management. And that doesn't mean poke them in the eye. It doesn't mean threatening to strike. It doesn't mean all just being dicks for no reason. It's about letting them know that we are engaged, that we're not just going to let them come up with these ideas and without really a whole lot of thought, and we're not going to do anything about it. We do that, again, by focusing our message on safety, communication, professionalism. Safety is a absolute indispensable business asset. They can't operate without it. They have to have it, and they can sell it. They can sell our safety record, and they get that because of our professionalism. And our communication allows them to know this is what we expect, this is what we demand, and this is what we're going to get. We have to demonstrate, again, that value and that indispensability. If they think this is the 1970s, they can go down to the French Quarter and go pull 20 pilots out of a strip club. Those days are long, long gone, if they ever really existed. They are in denial of the fact that they are fighting the airlines for pilots. They can continue to think that to their detriment, but it will. It's going to end poorly for them. They're almost to the point now where they can't fill seats. It's going to only get worse. The only way that they can continue this is by recognizing the value that we have, that we're not replaceable, and that they have to treat us as a valued asset, not just a problem. Again, advocating for safety and fair treatment, that's the quality of life. That's the getting rid of the annoying, stupid things about this job where you're not going to find out about your vacation until 2 days before you're supposed to take it, where you get sent by scheduling 100 miles west when they should send you 100 miles east, and just all the normal things that we deal with on a regular basis that drive us crazy. There's not probably one of us that doesn't enjoy the flying piece of the job. It's every other part of the job that drives us crazy. So we have to keep advocating for that. And the reason they were able to do it to us is because they can get away with it. So we have to be organized and tell them they can't. Again, we also have to show them that we are contributing to the long-term success of the company. We can get the best pay and compensation in the world, but if it bankrupts the company in 6 months, that doesn't do us a whole lot of good. But what we can do is essentially be the adults in the room and the voice of reason. We've all been there where we've had to talk to a manager or somebody else, and they just don't get it. And it's not because they're dumb. It's not because they're stupid. It's because they don't get it. They just do not understand, because they are not the subject matter experts that we are. So the other way we do it is by being visible, being available. As a union member, as a pilot, being there and being available for others is going to be huge. I know it's tempting to go back to the trailer at 9:30 after you pre-flighted. I know it's easy to just sit around and lock yourself in your room if you're on the air medical side. But we have to be engaged, and we have to be the public face of the company, because we are absolutely the most visible part of what we do for our customers, whether it's the air medical side or whether it's the oil and gas side. So actual specific next steps. Again, establishing and maintaining communication. That's with management. That's with members. That's with potential members. We've all been members for various amounts of time, and we've had varying amounts of communication to and from the union. So the important thing is that we start it, we keep it up, and we let them know we're not going anywhere. And that's how you build trust. And we have to build trust with management, because right now those guys are thinking, one, they don't have to listen to us, and two, if we get powerful again, we're going to try and stab in the back, walk out, strike, do all kinds of other things. We have to show them that we are trusted partners, that we're employees are doing what's best for the company and what's best for ourselves and what's best for our customers. Engage management on all the issues. The low value, high value, doesn't matter. I have a constant conversation with my wife, with my kids. What issues do you have to pick your battles? I choose to pick every battle. And the way we do that is every time we come up with an issue, we address it. We don't let anything go. Whether that's, hey, this room doesn't have any sheets. This room doesn't have, there's a hole in the floor. Great. We address it with management. You go through the normal chain. If it doesn't get fixed, we help address it. We call them up, but we address every single issue. And we let them know that we're here. We're not going anywhere. You have to deal with us. And what that does is it allows us to go to potential members and allows us to be the ones that they can go to, because we've all been in a situation where you feel like you're the only one who's going through something, feels like you're the only person that's on that job, staying offshore, going through that one problem. You're the only one that's having to deal with the 10-hour flights, the day that keeps going and going, the reposition to 3 different bases during a day to try and get a flight done for ops. But you're not alone. Everybody's here to help, and we're not going to let them kind of keep getting away with it. We have to make it smart. But by providing that information to everybody, we're able to let them know, even if we're not successful, that helps us too. Even if we get small things done, hey, that's one more thing we're getting done. But we have to let people know. If we're not getting things done, we let people know, hey, we're working on this issue for you, but we can't do it because we don't have the muscle. We don't have the ability to force them to do this. With you, we can. With your help, we can do it. So that's, again, how we increase the membership. We demonstrate the value, the necessity, and the return on the investment for joining the union. That's how we're going to have to go about it. Moving on to questions and answers. Why have or why join the union? Scott, do you want to take this?
Sure. This is obviously a very valid and common question. I put something together to kind of articulate my personal position on this. So give me a moment here to get it pulled up.
If you want to, I can run through the gist and get, or we can have you read through it at the end of the next meeting.
Let's do that.
Okay. All right. So again, Scott's got a great. If you don't know Scott very well, he's a great writer. He knows exactly how to cut the point. Good instructor. Just we are super lucky to have him. I'm really glad he agreed to be a steward. But again, a big question: why have or why join the union? It's simple. It's literally the organized labor. It's being able, instead of you trying to go and fight for yourself, you've got everybody else. Again, it's easy to ignore one person. It's hard to ignore 570. It's about getting fair treatment, having a vote in how the union goes about representing you, and then achieving as a group what we can't achieve alone. There's just no way we can do it. And this is a huge nuanced question. It's going to be different for every single person. What the benefit is to you, what you feel is worth it. But it comes down to, you're not going to get what you want, and you're not going to get as much as you can as an individual as you can as a member of a group. And the bigger the group, the better chance you have. So again, ask everybody, ask them why they joined. We can talk offline if you have a question to me, why I joined. but that's pretty much it. But I think most people have the same general concept. It just may be, again, a little bit of nuance here and there. Another question is, what are the benefits of joining? Obviously, because of right to work and some other things, everybody who is a pilot, PHI, or a care flight, regardless if they're a member or not, receives the same benefit of representation as a member. So it doesn't matter, member, non-member, everybody's represented with management. Grievances, the same thing. Obviously, it's kind of like insurance. Everybody gets covered by insurance, but not everybody pays the premium. So that's sometimes a little hard for some people to swallow. But some of the more specific direct benefits of being a member, they're not huge, but they are significant. You can see it there on the screen. There's some death benefits, dismemberment benefits, so you can have that after you die. There's free college. Brian Marlotte, I don't know if you guys know him. His wife was using this. Essentially, it's an online course. I think you can get an associate's degree and several certificates as well. There's some towing services if you don't like AAA or not a member of AAA. There's also a thing called the OPEIU Union Privilege Program. This is something if you've used some of the other financial companies out there, OneMain, some others, where it's some insurance, some legal, some prescription benefits. There's all kinds of different things. But I encourage you to go to the OPEIU webpage, and it goes into a lot of detail on each one. So there are some direct benefits to joining beyond just the normal representation. If that, depending on how much value you assign to that, is really up to you. What is OPEIU? It's the Office on Professional Employees International Union. It's part of the AFL-CIO. Primarily represents teachers, doctors, nurses, social workers. Again, other groups, helicopter pilots. Local 107 is Bristow. 109 is Air Methods. And what they are is about 100,000 represented employees around the country. And they are the kind of the umbrella organization. Some of you may be familiar with PHPA, which is the Professional Helicopter Pilots Association. This was a kind of another layer between the local and OPEIU. It essentially included 107 and 109 and us. That has since gone away. People felt that it was kind of unnecessary, that we didn't need to have a whole other layer of bureaucracy. The flip side of that is it's a group. It was a good advocacy for all the helicopter pilots and those unions and even the maintenance unions with the local, because again, all those people are lawyers, doctors, nurses, social workers, other things. So they're not helicopter pilots and don't necessarily understand some of the particulars with our industry. What does it cost to join? For dues, for PHI, it's 1% of your base pay, up to $85 a month. And yeah, you have to watch that sometimes. They just do 1%. So if payroll is taking out more, just give them a call, let them know. CareFlight, those guys have it worked out where it's a flat $50 per month. I'd personally like to see the same thing for the PHI, but we're still looking into that. Can't make any promises, but we are pursuing it. So I think that is honestly a big, you tell somebody 1%, when you start talking percentages, they start kind of, their eyes start to glaze over and they start feeling like it's a lot more money than it may be. So how are the money, what's the money used for? A lot of people think it's all going to the American social Marxist web or Congress of America or something silly. It's not. It goes to OPEIU, $16 a month, OPEIU, and that's, again, it's a big organization. They've got a lot of overhead as far as lawyers and administrators and things that are on staff. They've got a lot of support available for us. A lot of that goes to the, and that's about $14 a month. Anywhere between 40 cents and $2 goes to the state level labor federations, and that's just, hey, you're from Texas, you pay $1.40. Hey, you're from Oregon, you pay 40 cents. It also goes, about $2.50 goes to strike benefit fund. And that again is 250 times 100,000 people, get you a pretty good amount of money when one of those locals has to go on strike. $250 per month from the local as a whole, regardless of how many people we have, unless it's less than 10, goes to a national education conference and a national convention fund. That's 120 for one and 130 for the other. 650 of it goes to Pete Catalano, who's our office manager, and he does all report filing. He does a lot of work. He's a huge resource. He used to be the Bristow president. He's the guy that organized the Bristow union. So he's, again, huge. $50 a month goes to our website. Potentially looking at changing that, just going with a GoDaddy or something like that, at, $20. So that's something we're looking at. All that ends up being about $1,700 to $1,800 a month, depending on how many people we have. So we end up netting about $1,500 to $2,000 per month that goes into the bank account to increase it. Where most of that money is kind of set aside for is arbitration, because it can cost us up to $25,000. So if somebody files a grievance, we can't get anything resolved outside of arbitration. It goes to arbitration. We have to hire outside lawyers and things like that. OPEIU comes in, and we get a much better rate than we would if we just tried to go out the street and hire a lawyer. But it does cost us money and them. So that's where that goes. So essentially, we've got about 4 bullets in the magazine for those kind of things. How do you join? You go to opeiu108.org. You can go to the application page. You can find one of the stewards or me, or email me, and we'll get you an application. There's instructions are on it how to actually send it in and fill it out. It'll go through Paul Bolelski, and then it gets to payroll.
Should be on the union boards as well, Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I posted it on the Facebook group as well, and you should have it on the bulletin boards at the bases. We'll get those as well. Try and get an automated process, but we'll see what happens. Self-help. We're running on 37 minutes right here, so why don't we take a quick break, just a couple minutes. Again, this is a limitation of this software. If we go to 40 minutes, that's going to kick us out of the meeting. So what I'm going to do is stop the meeting, and then we'll start it back up, and we'll have another 40 minutes. So I'll be
Gordon?
Yep.
I saw a pop-up message here that said the host upgraded the meeting.
Okay.
Unlimited minutes.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll keep going then. If something happens and they disconnect us, we'll go ahead and start over again. Oh.
Then it's going to be the same meeting number.
Yeah, it's going to be the same meeting number. So, all right. So I'll go back to the shared PowerPoint, which we all want to watch. God, it's so good. All right. So self-help. Self-help means that we are operating without a ratified collective bargaining agreement. Back when they went on strike so many years ago, the company said, okay, that's great. We're going to give you our last best offer. But the union never ratified it, to my knowledge. So essentially, they can do whatever they want to. If they decide, hey, we want to change Article 3, they can change Article 3. They can essentially change everything but our right to act as representation for the union or for the pilots. If they decide they want to change the PTO policy, which they did on their medical side, they can do it. They need to put it in the Green Book, which they haven't done. So again, that's something else we're in the process of going after. But it gives all the control to them. They can do whatever they want, and all they have to do is show a business case for it. We can file a grievance. If they want to play hardball, they can say, hey, file a grievance. Go for it. We're not going to give you what you want. We're going to do it anyway. Take us to arbitration. We take them to arbitration, and we spend $25,000. And they say, yeah, you got what you want. Cool. And they do it again, and they do it again. And they try to bankrupt us, essentially, because they know we've got a very limited amount of funds. So it gives them a very big stick. So getting out of self-help, it requires 50% plus 1. So in this case, that'd be about 272 pilots out of PHI. And again, that would allow us to force them to go to the bargaining table. This is all a fairly simplistic explanation. I recognize that there is an extensive amount of labor law that goes into this. I'm not a labor lawyer. I'm trying to get more specifics because, again, as you talk to people that have been around a while, they just say, well, this is the way it's been. This is what I understand. So we're kind of operating on some hearsay. but we are trying to go and pursue the actual specific legal basis for everything. Do we have to exit self-help before we can do anything? No, of course not. Again, I think that convincing management, this is the kind of argument I have with people is over the past 15 years, how many pay raises has the union gotten for us? I think we'd all admit it's probably none. After the strike, they've recognized that, hey, you know what? If we want to keep people, we need to pay more. People were jumping into 92, going through the course, and then leaving immediately after to go fly for CHC or somebody else internationally. They recognized that it was in their best interest to pay more money and to pay retention bonuses than to have guys leave immediately after going through a $80,000 training course. So essentially, our job is to do the same thing. Convince them that what we want to do and what we're suggesting is not only good for us, not try to appeal to their better nature, but to recognize this is good business. By doing the smart thing, you are saving yourself money in the long run. It is better to keep a guy who's been here for 5 years than it is to let that guy go to Comair so he can go fly an ERJ 145 and hopefully make more money in 10 years. Things like that. But we do that by, again, we need to normalize our relationship with management. Right now, just trying to set up the CBA mandated professional standards committee with the chief pilots. I got no response from Greg Goldsmith, and the only response I got from Wade Cook was, I can't talk to you about this because this is union stuff. You have to go talk to HR. So that's where we're at. What we want to do is move it to where we can solve and resolve these issues at a lower level. We shouldn't have to file a grievance or a complaint every time Lee Bork tries to, do something crazy with our schedule or with our vacation. We shouldn't have to go to HR or anything else to solve a problem. We shouldn't have to go to Jamie Hinch because we have some kind of minor issue with our manager. By taking care of this stuff at the lowest possible level, we become less of a pain in the ass for senior management, and it works better for everybody. We show middle management that, hey, if you don't want to have to deal with your bosses yelling at you for messing this up, just talk to us. And by doing that, we consistently can push our message and push our agenda. And again, by being not only good and loyal employees by doing our jobs, but we're trying to make things better for not just us, but for our customers and for PHI. If we're happy doing our jobs in a professional way, that reflects well on PHI and makes our customers happy. It's better for us. It's better for them. So being a constructive and collaborative organization as opposed to just, no, we're not doing that. Give me more money, or I'm not doing that. That's not the way we're going to win anything. We're going to be in the same boat we've been in for 15 years. That's pretty much it for all the big questions that I have. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to some comments from Ryan. Do you have anything?
Just that everybody's in the meeting. Try to get in touch with somebody who's not on the Facebook page and just invite them. If you have friends who are pilots that are on Facebook and they're not in that group, try and get them, try and invite them. That seems to be our biggest way of communication. They don't need to be members or any of that stuff. Just go ahead and bring them in. What was the other thing? Oh, the union's keeping of information as far as your addresses. The only way that they get that is through your original application. So if you've moved from your original application, just go ahead and push your new address up to Pete Catalano. I can get that information. Actually, that should be pretty easily available, his address and email and whatnot. But that's the only way we have to keep a track of where people are so that we can mail them stuff. It also comes into play when we pay for taxes for the union, because your state of residence determines the tax rate that we pay.
Sorry.
Anything else?
That's all I had. No, that was it.
Scott, you got anything?
I think to kind of touch on the idea that Ryan brought up, I think we're generally open to suggestions as far as other and better methods of communication. I don't have any particular strong love or feelings for Facebook, but it seems to be the vehicle that we have been handed. But if people prefer to be communicated with or to in another way, please let any one of us know.
Lucas, you got anything?
Nothing to add.
John? John's like 3 bottles in now. He's like, yeah, I'm done.
He actually, I think I saw him pop off.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Open it up to anybody else. Zach, Jeff, Pete, Joe.
You mentioned
Real quick, Gordon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
you mentioned changing the paradigm to something like alpha.
Mm-hmm.
If the idea is to eventually change it to the paradigm like alpha, why not? Is alpha open to helicopter pilots?
I'm in the process of looking at that. Right now, OPEIU is the union we have. I'm not married to them. If we can get a better deal, my understanding is one of the issues is we are organized under OPEIU. So if we decide, hey, we want to organize under ALPA, we say, hey, we're going to dissolve the collective bargaining agreement we have with OPEIU, and then we are going to reorganize with ALPA. So at that point, we lose our previous collective bargaining agreement. So if we don't have a majority of the people or people willing to join, then we lose collective bargaining agreement and we leave with nothing. So essentially, you go from no protection that's available. I could be mistaken, but that is the understanding I have from talking to several people on it. But yeah, it's the downside of ALPA is they are a very expensive union. They're getting about 2%, I believe, and it's a closed shop. There is no choice. You have to join. Do not pass go. I have a philosophical difference of opinion with that, but ultimately, I'm practical enough to recognize that you need as close to 100% as possible to be able to bargain like that. It also, again, it's an option. We definitely need to look and see if it's something that we can pursue or if we should pursue it. But right now, I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay.
It is an obstacle that I don't know if we can overcome, but I know we can at this time, because not with 3%.
Just a quick one. Past experience. Pilots that I worked with were represented by AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, and we actually looked into joining OPEIU, but because the collective bargaining agreement was in force, we couldn't transfer. But we were looking to jump ship to OPEIU because of them representing helicopter pilots. So with this collective bargaining agreement being in a caretaker status, it's just an option that, I raised the question at the dinner the other night, and just raise it again, because if your basic structure for a union is such that it's more conducive to the members, this might be a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, once you start driving membership up, you really can't change horses anymore.
Sure. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I've got questions on is exactly what the legal status is with self-help in regards to what it prevents you from leaving, what you actually have. Because right now you could make the case that, well, we don't really have a collective bargaining agreement. We have we essentially have a collection of rules that the company has given us that we refer to as a collective bargaining agreement. But again, I'd have to talk to Greg Aubrey on whether it was actually ratified by the union. I don't believe it was at any point. But if it was ratified, then we do in fact have a collective bargaining agreement. If it wasn't ratified, then we're operating essentially at the company's leisure. So
All right, I'll ask one other quick question. Are the mechanics represented by anybody?
they are not. I've been discussing that with them. On the air medical side, there's a lot more angst. I assume. I've got a lot of guys that I know that are from the Gulf that come up to air medical, to our base specifically, and we've gone through them pretty quick. So they are much more unhappy on air medical side than they are on the oil and gas side. But again, they aren't organized. I suggested that they kind of look into it, and a couple of them are. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if that's something that we can. I don't know if we can tie them into our union or not. I don't know if that would be necessarily a good idea, but it's something to explore. Anybody else have any questions?
Is there any way, can we separate from air medical as far as on bargaining agreement?
Sure. That's, again, one of those things we're looking at. Because, again, obviously, if air medical is at 3%, that's not doing much for the oil and gas side and vice versa. I've looked at it. I discussed it with OPEIU. They gave me the same answer twice, so it's fairly consistent. I also think we're going to have to talk to essentially a labor lawyer who's not associated with OPEIU to find out exactly what we can and can't do. But again, what they told me was the same thing. You have a collective bargaining agreement. It is for both air medical and oil and gas, and that is the agreement you have. If you want to separate, you essentially shit can your current bargaining agreement and then rebuild a new one.
So how does that work with CareFlight being under the 108
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time having their own agreement, even though they're underneath this 108 umbrella?
Yeah, that's my question too. What I was told was their collective bargaining agreement included being a member of OPEIU 108, separate from PHI Inc. So the problem is that we have a contract with PHI Inc., not with PHI Oil and Gas and PHI Air Medical.
And PHI Inc. at this present time, I don't want to say the other phrase that you hate, exists as the parent company of both of those respectively.
Yes.
And we've had a lot of change
Sure.
in rebranding with all of our various business units. We've also had separation of these areas. Hard boundaries, new certificates, things like that. So, I mean, kind of for everybody else, this is an ongoing conversation. The question why is being asked and will be continued to be asked, is my understanding, right, Gordon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Until we get a better answer than because. And
Yeah.
because you have what you have because.
Right.
Because is not an answer, it's a transition.
Absolutely.
So,
At this point, I'm in the early exploration stages of finding of getting a good reason why. That's more than just, well, I think this is why, but I'm not positive talking to this person. So we're kind of going through that whole list of people. And it may be, and I'm not questioning OPEIU's sincerity, or they may say, hey, look, we'd love to be able to do this, but this is what you do legally by doing that. You may essentially be screwed. And you give up what is in effect a pretty good bargaining agreement by doing that. So again, whatever the information is, we'll pursue it, and we'll get that information and let everybody decide what they want to do with it. But like I said, it's been a month, so we're still trying to get a lot of information.
sure.
Anybody else? Greg, you got anything?
I'm not sure if you quite figured out the mic piece.
Yeah. Jake, is that you? Are you there? I think Jake probably.
I had one comment about the CBA.
Mhm.
Someone was asking about the CBA being current. My connection here is really horrible, so I don't know if you can even understand me.
We can hear you.
We
But
got you.
the CBA is the one we're using is the last best negotiation.
Yep. Now we lost you.
Yeah, you kind of broke up. So my understanding is the CBA is the last
which is our
best.
last bargaining position. Our previous bargaining agreement would be in force. So we have a bargaining agreement, but PHI and the local have agreed to use the Green Book, and that's the one they've been editing. So right now they can either use that document or they can use the previous CBA and they can amend that one. Well, they've chosen to use the Green Book version, so that's what we're going by. But it's not like they can just say, no, there's no Green Book or there's no CBA. They would have to go back to the last one that was negotiated and voted on. Does everybody understand that?
I was actually
Okay.
going to ask, for the layman's description of this document construct here, in terms of union-generated documents, when you're ultimately working with the company and bargaining, you end up with the so-called collective bargaining agreement. How is the Green Book born out of that? How is it related? Is it legally tied to it? What is the difference, if you will?
Between the Green Book and a CBA?
Between our Green Book and our CBA.
The Green Book, for all intents and purposes, is the CBA.
Okay.
It wasn't ratified by the union because we went on strike.
Okay.
So since we're in self-help, it really is the same thing.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Are related to business operations. So if they need something to be changed because of business, which means they can't touch grievance procedures or any of that kind of stuff. Okay. They can only change things that have a company reason, like if they needed to change our housing or if they needed to change, anything that affects the bottom, money, benefits. That's how they changed the VSTO and the STO to PTO on the EMS side, because there was a legitimate business reason to do it.
But they didn't actually change the Green Book. They just changed the actual policy.
Yes, they did. They did actually change the Green Book. The 2018 version has the PTO in it.
Okay.
Okay.
I know this is really breaking up, and I can only hear about every third or fourth word from people.
No, we're just letting you talk. So yeah, it sounds like what you said was that they did in fact change that VSTO policy in the Green Book, so that's reflected. So that's good.
Yes, and there were some other policy changes, and they were all when they made the Green Book, they updated all of those into it because they were separate documents, and I think they were on the Facebook page as separate documents, and then in 2018 PHI collected that all together, and it's all in the Green Book now.
Okay.
I believe the union can ask PHI to reprint the CBA for distribution. I believe that's in one of the articles. Is it possible to pursue that avenue so we have the most recent and ask them to send it out to all of the bases?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I believe
that was
that's
just
in one of
done
the
last
articles.
year, and they actually organized it with an index.
Was that the 2018?
Yes, that's the latest one.
Okay.
Where is the call it master Green Book actually kept? I'm familiar with the copies that are at bases and copies that we have online, like the Facebook page. But is there an actual location for the parent document?
I don't know. I don't know if you're asking Greg or me. So
Yes.
I have not seen this mythical thing. It must be kept in a vault in the basement of the Vatican. It's hermetically sealed. Have to use the white gloves, but It's Greg may be able to speak to that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the question is how do we know we have the most
Right.
current available document that is agreed between both PHI and the union?
Sure. That's a good question. I will try to pursue that and get an answer for you.
I guess you're starting at the Vatican.
At the Vatican. I'm going to have to try and do some symbology, read things backwards and forwards, see what happens.
All right.
Somebody else have any questions? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Can you bargain things like one at a time, or do you have to basically, like, can you change certain things in the green book periodically? Like, could you start like, let's say next week, just, throwing a time period out there, could you go to fight for the per diem coming up?
Sure. Yeah. So
a month fight for something else, or do you have to change the whole thing as a whole?
So assuming we could get them forced to the bargaining table with that 50% plus one, we would say, hey, we want to change all these articles, and this is what we want for our new collective bargaining agreement. So you would do everything as a package. In self-help, what we can do, because they can change all that stuff, we can say, hey, look, we want to change the per diem, and we make a case for it. And they say, because we are kind gods, we will allow you peons to have $10 per meal. And we say, thank you so much. And they give it to us, and they decide to put it in writing so they don't change it later. Or they don't. I mean, if they were smart, they would just say, yeah, we'll do it, but we'll maybe change our mind later, so we're not going to put it in the green book. So we can ask for stuff. We can try to convince them that it is in their best interest to do it, but they're under no obligation to actually do so or continue doing so, which is the big pain about self-help. They can change what they want. We can't change anything.
Gotcha.
Anybody else? Joe, you got anything? See, Jake completely disappeared, so if that was ever the Jake.
Gordon, you're still talking about having this as a 2-segment meeting, one recorded, one not.
Yeah, we can go and do that. If nobody has any other questions they don't want recorded for posterity, I'll go ahead and close it out and adjourn it. So again, we'll go ahead and say the meeting is now adjourned. Next meeting is going to be scheduled for September 8th. I'll go ahead and close this meeting out. We'll stop the recording now.